Every year it seems people ask this question, and is being a photographer worth it in 2024? Is it worth it in 2023? Was it worth it in 2022? Was it worth it in 2021? It's back since the age of photography, I think. And sure, photography isn't necessarily what it was. There was like a heyday, especially with like fashion photography and all that kind of stuff. But if you're looking to be a photographer, if you want to be a photographer, if you want to do this, is it worth it in 2024? Should you do it? Well, I'm a photographer. I've considered quitting a few times, multiple times a year, multiple times a month sometimes. Depends on how the month's going, you know. Sometimes it's crazy busy and I need a break. Sometimes I'm like, I would give my left kidney for anything right now. But that's the way it goes, especially with commercial photography. Sometimes it rains, sometimes it pours. Sometimes it's a drought. Here's some things that I would keep in mind going into this, is that you have to operate it like a business, right? You have to have enough of an emergency fund. Like most people say 3 to 6 months. I would say 6 to 12 months for creative entrepreneurs especially, because you don't know where your next job is coming from. You might have a bunch of stuff lined up and things get canceled or things get pushed or, you know, things just change. And that's okay. That's part of the way this industry goes. And sometimes you'll think you're not going to ever work again, and then you'll have a sudden onslaught of work. And there's no real way to predict it, quite honestly. But what I would say, if you're considering this, go for it. But be aware that it isn't easy, but it's worth it. It is one of the most fulfilling experiences I've ever had in my life. And I'm so glad that I've taken this journey because it's introduced me to some incredible people, some of the most amazing people in my life I've met because I took this leap. And it's given me some of the most incredible experiences. If you're thinking, oh, it's oversaturated or there's too many of us, whatever, I could not disagree more because social media has made it where people need content more. And photos are a form of content. Now, if you shoot video as well as photos, that gives you an edge on somebody. And if you can shoot photo and video for somebody, then you can be the one person, you can charge more, and you can do it repeatedly on like a retainer basis because people need content all the time because you have to stay consistent with social media, and that means brands have to stay consistent with social media, which means they need more photos than ever. Now, yes, you might not be paid as much per photo, let's say, but the demand is still there. And it's actually, I would argue, it's growing, which means there's a market for you. Now, yes, you can say AI, and yes, you can say phones and whatever, but a person that knows how to take a great photo will be able to make a living out of it, especially if they have the business sense as well. Because that is something that we still need. It's still a service that people want. And if people want it, they're willing to pay for it. Now, yes, you'll get people who don't want to pay for it always, and you have all the horror stories of, oh, like, can you shoot this wedding for like $50 and it's the whole day and it's whatever, and like, don't do that kind of stuff. AI, it will change maybe the way we take photos, but it will help us maybe edit them to a certain degree, and it'll modify how we do things, sure, but it's not going to take us out of the game. It's like anything else. Digital came in, and we're like, oh, is this done because now the barrier to entry is less? No. There are more photographers because there's less of a barrier to entry, but it doesn't mean that, you know, the quality of work goes down or the talent pool goes down or the budgets go down. Budgets change depending on, and it depends on the type of clients you're shooting for. But I think people who value true artistry and true photography will always pay for it, and there's a place and a need for it even in 2024. So if you're looking at this being like, should I be a photographer? I really want to do this. I feel called to do it. But should I? I say do it. What I would also say is diversify your income streams, because if you have different things that you can fall back on, it will save you. 2020 taught me that, because I didn't really have multiple income streams. I started doing some like stock video stuff at the time, but not a lot. It wasn't a ton and it wasn't super frequent. But that was the first little bit of making money online. And I was like, okay. And then 2020 hit, and that's when I started doing stuff like teaching online classes with Skillshare, which I'm about to launch one, so check it out. Stuff like that. YouTube, writing articles, all these different streams of income that I have in addition to being a photographer that still stem from my overarching thing of being a photographer that help fuel that and help if I'm having a slow month, that gets me by. And in the meantime, it's still working even as I'm shooting all the time. So it doesn't hinder my business, it only builds it up. So if you're able to balance being a photographer and having other income streams that work off of that, coaching, portfolio reviews, teaching, different, you can host networking events and stuff like that. If you're doing these things, if you're selling presets, if you're creating content, these are ways that you can help diversify your income as a photographer. You don't have to be the next Peter McKinnon or anything. You can make, a little bit of money on the side that will just help if you have a slow month. And that's all that it has to be, but it will get you by, and it will actually be able to, it will sometimes save you so you can keep photographing for longer if this is what you want to do. And there will be days where you question your life choices and you question everything. But if you're able to stick through it and you're able to stay consistent through it, it can be incredibly, incredibly rewarding. And it may not pay off immediately. It's a grind. It's been a grind for me. I've been at this for years and years and years. And, there's been ups, there's been downs, but you just keep going. So if it's something that you really want to do, go do it, and do it like your life depends on it. Like, don't hold back, because it'll be worth it. But if you just like taking photos and you think maybe me saying this makes it seem like it's not for you, then that's okay too. I'm not trying to be like, hey, do this thing, hustle, grind, but no. If you just like taking photos but you don't necessarily want to make it your career, that's totally cool too. You can have a completely different career, and photos can just be something that you enjoy doing. I enjoy doing other things, but I'm not a pro at them. And that's totally cool. And it can be totally cool if photography is that for you. But if not, and you want to make this your full-time thing, and you just want to do it, and you want to make money doing it, then I say do it. And if you're going to do it, then consider subscribing so you can join along this journey with me and learn from my mistakes so you don't have to make them yourself. You see what I did there? Anyways, thank you for watching. Remember, as always, to work hard, rest often, and I'll see you on the next one.